I didn't plan for this, but I feel like this would be perfect for a series ender. And yeah, you're about to get a whole look at my calves. So, finished the series. And I started wanting to walk around. I was going to sit down, but I'm about to go for a commute, so why would I sit down the whole time? It's a long commute. Anyway, so I finished my series yesterday. And also, like, my kids are sleeping in the room next to where I usually record, so I decided to take it outside. It's a great place, but now my knee is acting up because I'm an old man. Okay, so I finished my series. It's a 3-book series. It's called Nascent Soul Child. It is a principal drafting, right? I just wrote the last scene. And I'm going to spoil this heavily because it is a story about a dad who just wants to get back to his daughters. Does he get back to his daughters? Yes. But also, like, I don't know if I want to write that scene or if I want to make that extra. Because right now it's heavily implied. Anyway. So I learned a lot about this process the last year. This was a challenge, right? So when I say that, I mean this was April Write-a-thon's challenge, right? Was it April Write-a-thon's? No, it wasn't. So I've written this, so it's taken about 2 years to write this one. And I think it's my problem is I stopped in April of last year. It's April Write-a-thon right now, by the way, which I'm not doing for this reason that I'm about to explain. So I started writing this thing in 2022. I wrote this in 2023. I wrote the first book and a half in 2023. And then I kept going at it, kept nutting through it until April 2024, at which point I started Caravan of Blades. And that is a deck builder. I love deck builders, so I kept writing that all the way through. I wrote 4 books of that. So I wrote a book and a half of one series. And then I didn't post it. And then I started writing a 4-book series. I finished the 4-book series. Caravan of Blades. I just put the Kickstarter up. I'm about to do the pre-launch for book 2, which fall, will be great. And then around book 3, when that was posting last fall of Caravan of Blades, I started posting Nascent Soul Child. And then November hit. And November was NaNoWriMo, or Write-a-thon Part 2. And I was like, you know what? This is in the back of my head. I'm going to write Gamer Manager, which is a series about a business school professor who gets the power to see the skills of the players on her team and other players in the specific MOBA game that she is addicted to. But he wants to manage the team, right? So it's kind of like Player Manager, where in Player Manager they play soccer. I'm gonna bring my soccer ball out here. So in Player Manager, they play soccer, right? And it's a really interesting read, and learned a little bit more about UK soccer than I ever thought I would. But it made me think about what would this be like if it's a lit RPG, but what would this series be like if it was a game, like a MOBA or card game. So that's what I wrote. I wrote that book. I've actually written another chapter that I need to release, but I don't want to start posting the second book before I'm like convinced I'm actually going to do it. I have a specific niche audience that likes the stuff I write, but I did not get a lot of followers on that first book, probably because it was a write-a-thon book. And here's my thing, I'm not doing write-a-thon anymore, right? That's what I learned doing Nascent Soul Child, is I'm not doing a write-a-thon. And that's okay, because I'm just going to plan on doing 2 releases a year, 2 series. This Bodega Cat could be a 4-book series, or it could be a 12-book series, depending on what's happening with it. But let's go back to what I finished. So the relief at finishing this thing that I've been working on for 2 years is intense. It's a 3-book series. Caravan was 4 books. I wrote that in 5 months. And it's still taking months to edit. But like, it's done. It's probably my last Zhangsha book for a little bit. At least another series or 2. As I've written 4 books in that thing. And I'm looking at exploring other stuff, especially romantasy and a dual parenting system apocalypse thing. But it is first person. If you haven't read it, it is a therapist who has been isekai'd into another world. And I'm also not going to do isekai anymore for a while. I want to do contemporary, either contemporary romantasy in a fantasy setting, or contemporary lit RPG with a system apocalypse, or just like a system that one person has, or aggressor. Right? No more isekais for the time being. I would do something like Frieren. And he goes through and he does not want to be recruited by any of the sects in his city, which is largely based off of the Band of Blades setting with cultivators. So that if you're not familiar with that, it is a mob city. You are stuck inside of the city, and everything is canals, and all these gangs have heats, but you can't really escape it to get the heat off of you and hide, right? So like it's a walled-in city, because outside the wall is ghosts and spirit beasts. And I'm just gonna kick this around because I have so much energy, and like 10 minutes before I have to go to work. But yeah, so I like that setting. And what he does is he starts gathering allies, and he doesn't form his own sect, but he kind of forms his own little gang, and he calls it his little evil gang. And basically all they're doing is, by the end of book 1, they're hunting down these really aggressive sect recruiters from a demonic sect. And that turns into them finding, look, huge spoilers, but this was posted a year ago, almost, how the demonic sect is using people to fuel their cultivation, right? And I did not realize this was a thing in romantasy, where there's like slavery and like people being used for blood rights, but now I do. And that's kind of what happens at the end of book 1. They use humans for blood rights to advance their stuff. And then Joe Pidge, named after my friend's cat, the main character, finds this. He's absolutely horrified, and as a therapist and a social worker, he's like, I need to change this system, change the institution. I need to break down this institution. So now that he's like established himself in this world, he's like, all right, I need to fix this. How do I fix this? And so he starts trying to fix it. And that's the plot of the last 2 books, is like him working with or against the institutions to do it, because there's a lot of entrenched interests, and it's really kind of hard to show an entrenched interest in first person, because the focus is on the person and how they're experiencing things. You're not going back to another person in third person and talking about something else. Like I don't have any villainous asides. The villain has to be right there and monologue to the guy, right? Because this is kind of a thriller. Like the last book is kind of a thriller or a war thing, where you have to have the villain monologue. So like, again, big spoilers, in the beginning of book 3, he's receiving an award from the Emperor, who is the highest, the most powerful person in the setting, right? He's like an 8th realm heavenly emperor of the Imperial Court. And he's like giving Pidge an award. But he's also giving this cultivator an award. And the one thing that Joe has that his powers are, is he can see the ultra-violent tattoos that the demonic cultivators place on themselves to differentiate themselves from each other, right? So, and this is a class thing. Here's how I would use this. So, this is really messed up. They tattoo the ones that are juniors, but they don't tattoo the ones that are inside the family. Let me run that back. It is an oligarchy, right? So at the top, you're part of the family. You do not get tattooed. You do not get marked. Everyone underneath that, because they can see each other. Like they have a cultivation technique where they can see each other. But like, there's no ultraviolet like light. There's no like physics textbooks, and there's no special glasses to see this. It's just something that Joe sees because of his connection to Earth, right? And that kind of plays into how fast he advances, because cultivation in this world, which I have another book, Sect Leaders in the Same World, is about removing impurities. But if you don't have impurities because you're human and that's not really a thing, being a human from another world, you don't have to remove those. Where was I? Okay. So I have a scene in book 3. He's getting an award for killing all these. He's ferreting out this cultivator nest in the capital, which he has to travel to speak to the emperor about this problem. And then he gets an award from the emperor. And then there's a cultivator at about his level who is a demonic cultivator who's getting an award for something else. And the only person that knows that he's demonic is Joe, because you can see the tattoo on the man's face. And I just wrote a scene where he knows they're all demonic cultivators, but none of them have tattoos, and he's wondering why. And then it hits him that they're all oligarchs, and they're like, well, they wouldn't do that to their own family. Meanwhile, like, he recruited the oligarch's daughter in the middle of book 2 because the oligarch sent his daughter to die trying to kill him, because they keep underestimating him, which kind of the thing. So then you gotta go back and like, okay, so what are his powers? So he's a therapist. So I gave him the dream power. So he draws power. He draws power from the aura around him, from dream energy, dream and nightmare. That fuels him. A lot of people dreaming around him, hoping for things, daydreaming, going to sleep and dreaming, give him aura, which makes him cycle key. It's a cultivation novel. And then the other one is because he's a dad, he's got this whole I'll beat a mother effer with another mother effer. He has tactile telekinesis. Yeah. The garbage trucks are up already. So it's tactile telekinesis, right? Which means that if I touch something, I can fly with it, or I can make it fly. He can't fly if he's naked. He'll be holding something. This is kind of what Superman has, at least. And it's, if you've read The Worth of Candle, it's very similar to gold magic. But those are his main powers. And then like his people, they have powers. One of his people, Egya, she has the power to draw formations. Then they find her father in the end of book 2, and then he helps her draw formations. And the formations are the things that keep the beast out of the city. And there's the major plot of Beast book 3 is that a beast breakout happens because the formations are broken because of somebody on the inside. And they have to recruit her father to get it. And then there is Zuye, try to pronounce that, who is a actress. And she tries to recruit him for his sect, but then he outsmarts her a little bit, and then he recruits her to be like his helper. And like she's the second most strong after him and his girlfriend. Oh, and then I mentioned like, so a lot of people are like, hey, he has a story before this. And I'm like, yeah, like literally, as the trash truck comes by, literally what I did was he has a backstory, and it's similar to the Laura Gottlieb story. So his ex is named Laura. He dumped her 7 days before the story starts. And he's really sad about that because he wanted to be independent, and she has a son who's like 7, and he realizes that his daughter's about to graduate from high school. He's going to be free. He makes a terrible mistake, and he cannot go back from that. But he also has an ex-wife. And the other thing that I like to tell people, like, ex-wives are funnier than divorced wives. Ex-wives, divorce is much funnier than having a dead wife, right? So his ex-wife shows up in the middle of book 1. And it's funny because she is a contractor for the other side. He doesn't kill her. And then she opens up a lingerie shop because she had one on the other side, called Resting Bitch Lace. And by the end of book 3, she is best friends with all of his people, including his girlfriend. And what do? They all buy her lingerie. And he's like, did you buy my ex-wife's lingerie before we got intimate? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, that's so messed up. Anyway, so I thought that would be interesting, which is why I wrote it. And also, like, divorce does not exist in cultivator world. So I have a whole scene where one of the girls is like, "What do you mean you can both be alive and not be married after you were married before? Like, how is that possible?" And it's like a culture shock for her. And I just like how, like, they're interpreting him being divorced as like, how is this even possible? Yeah. Do your civic duty. But, like, this is the only time I have to film. There you go. So I'm really happy about the way it went out. I do need to rework the Zeron. She's a character I introduced halfway through the series. She tries to infiltrate and kill him when he goes to the opera or the musical. I'm not really sure what it's like kind of a dancing musical opera thing. One of his associates is the star, and he wants to go to that. They meet her there. She tries to seduce him or her, and they're just like, "You're a demonic cultivator. Why are we not killing you right now?" And then his major thing is like, you can either die or you can switch allegiances. And like, because I have 2 daughters back at home that are like teenagers, I am really conflicted about this. And I have to, and I've talked about people about walking this thin line between like slavery and consent and like agency. And I'm like, all right, the only way that this works is if she accepts this, right? She has to accept that the situation, because the other one would be worse. Like, he doesn't want to die. But then again, I don't know. So that might change a lot in the dev editing. But I was like, this is the thing where I think I have to like write around this. And then like she's in the last scene, like absolutely slapping the shit out of her parents for fucking putting her through that shit. And I'm just gonna curse because, sorry kids, this is not a story for kids. It's about responsibility and the institutions, and the responsibility of institutions to actually do what they're supposed to do. All right. But I think that's going to be it. Things I learned from the series: don't do challenges, and do it straight through. Because I stopped 2 times. I stopped to write Gamer Manager the second time, and I stopped to write Caravan of Blades. Both were great. Gamer Manager is critically acclaimed, but like a sleeper hit. Caravan of Blades did really well on Kickstarter. The second one's going to be up on Kickstarter soon. But when I write Bodega Cat, I'm just going to write that. I might write a couple chapters of the romantic thing just to kind of get my feet wet. But like, I am not trying to overly complicate my life. I want to write it in one sitting, in one go, and be done. Right? And it might take me 6 months to finish it, but then, I mean, I'm already like 29 chapters in. I'm almost done with book 1 of Bodega Cat. So this is my second book I'm finishing for the year. It is only April 3rd. So I'm super happy about that. But I'm going to call it there because he's coming around to my side and he's about to be really loud. And it's that's the recycling truck. Wonderful. All right, so write something. Write-a-thon is this month. If you're going to do a challenge, do a challenge. It is a good way to gauge if this is something for you. You have to write 1,600 words a day to kind of meet the threshold. It's already been 3 days, but it's something doable, something you can try, and then you can become like me, salty about like doing these challenges because they don't line up with your publishing plans or yeah. That's all I got. Thanks, besties. Have a great day.